And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hi everyone, meteorologist Joel Curtis with your aviation weather for the forecast issued on Friday, August 15th. Let's start out with an announcement. Don't forget to check the NOTAMs on the temporary flight restriction around Anchorage, and that should last until about 0015 Zulu time this afternoon. The Zulu date will be August 16th. Please keep up with this. It might be extended. So something you want to check. There's a lot of activity right now, especially at Elmendorf Air Force Base. And also, there are jets patrolling the area right now. So, something else I want to call your attention to. Most of our listeners here are general aviation or commuter type airlines, Part 135s. But there has been quite a lot of activity the last couple of weeks ever since that gigantic earthquake that occurred off of Kamchatka. Klevetskoy volcano on the Kamchatka erupted and has been off and on putting out a lot of volcanic ash. So here's just a typical graphic of today. This is valid at 18 Zulu today. And it's for this afternoon at 0Z, and just a small patch of suspended ash out over the Bering Sea, but it's been more extensive in some cases and less extensive in others. So just to show you what we're doing for the high-level jet routes, the trans-Pacific routes that go from mainland North America all the way over to the Far East. So that being said, let's look at our flying weather for Saturday morning. First of all, extensive IFR along the Beaufort Sea coast, marginal VFR right up to the Brooks Range. Also, the entire west coast is either IFR or marginal VFR as you go a little bit further inland, down to the southwest. Bristol Bay seems to be VFR, but otherwise the entire Bering Sea will be IFR. And then as you go on up the Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR. Some portions of the Alaska Range will actually have IFR conditions, but a lot of VFR on the upwind sides. We have some northwesterly flow aloft, and that's hitting the mountains and causes clouds right there. Also, a little bit of IFR conditions in the upper Yukon and parts of the Tanana Valley as well. And then some marginal VFR down in southeast with some IFR conditions around Dixon Entrance. So Saturday afternoon, marginal VFR in southeast Alaska, except a little bit of IFR along the Hyder area. Also a little bit of IFR conditions over the far eastern part of the Wrangell-St. Elias Mountains. In other words, marginal VFR towards the Alcan. Beaufort Sea area, marginal VFR on up to the Brooks Range. Again, that extensive area of IFR offshore and marginal VFR closer to shore, all along the west coast and down into the Alaska Peninsula. Extensive IFR, of course, over the Bering Sea. And then for Sunday morning, we've got some IFR again off the Arctic coast, marginal VFR as you get closer to the beach. Again, areas of IFR as you go along the west coast with marginal VFR a little bit further inland, a little bit in the Kuskokwim Delta area, some IFR, and then along the windward side of the Alaska Peninsula, as well as down to Dutch Harbor, some IFR conditions. Over the Gulf, mostly marginal VFR for southeast Alaska, but as soon as you get to the mountains, tomorrow, Sunday morning, expect IFR in all of the higher terrain. And then for Sunday afternoon, that smooths out to marginal VFR for southeast Alaska with some VFR conditions as you get further out toward the Gulf. Over the Gulf, there will be some marine stratus for marginal VFR conditions. Over for the Beaufort and Chukchi Sea, lots of marginal VFR into the western part of Alaska, and then IFR areas are more sketchy along the Bering Sea and out by St. Lawrence Island. You might see some marginal VFR. Pribilos looking like IFR, maybe marginal VFR. And then as you go further out the Aleutians, it'll be IFR conditions. Now, for our past reports, Anatuvik starts out with IFR becoming VFR in the afternoon. Atigan Pass, IFR becoming VFR. And then as we get down into our southern mainland passes, almost all of them will have turbulence from the flow around that weather system. We've got northwesterlies coming out of due to high pressure further out, and that's going to really cause quite a bit of turbulence. And we'll be please update for your flight planning tomorrow. Take a look at the latest and greatest for the turbulence on the Alaska Aviation Weather Unit site. So, VFR conditions, but turbulence. The same thing for rainy, VFR, but turbulence. A windy pass, VFR and turbulence. Turbulence for Isabel Pass, IFR becoming marginal VFR, a little bit of upslope there. Mentasta Pass, IFR conditions, but no significant turbulence forecasted. Tahiti Pass, a VFR, but with turbulence. And Portage Pass, a VFR and turbulence. Chilkoot and White Pass, marginal VFR conditions. So for our freezing levels, we've got 2,000 feet up in the central part of the North Slope down to the Brooks Range. And as you can see, that's a pool of cold air. And then as soon as you proceed further south, it just ramps further up until finally you get to the far western Aleutians, and the freezing levels up to 14,000 feet with a lot of warm air in that upper level high pressure system. For our icing on Saturday, we've got isolated moderate all along the northwest slope into the Chukchi Sea and down through the Bering Strait. Also for portions of St. Lawrence Island, and a little bit of considerable moderate embedded in that. Also along the Alcan border, 9,000 to 17,000 feet, we have some isolated moderate conditions and a little bit of considerable moderate as you get over the Wrangell St. Elias on the interior north end of the Wrangell St. Elias Mountains and up to the Alaska Range. Also, 12,000 feet to flight level 200 over the southern end of the Panhandle, and up in the higher terrain, some considerable moderate, and then a little bit of isolated moderate over Dutch Harbor, and that'll be about 14,000 to flight level 210. So for our jet stream, northwesterlies is the big story here, and that's what's going to help to drive the turbulences across much of south central and the Alaska Range. A little bit of low pressure off of Dixon Entrance, so a bit of circulation, but the core of the jet stream is well out in the Gulf, ramping up to about 100 knots or so, and then 90 knots over Siberia. But as it becomes northwesterly over the western part of the interior, drops off to about 65 knots. So for 9,000 foot winds, there's our low, again off of Dixon Entrance. Now notice the 45 knots for Lake Clark and Merrill Pass areas, as well as going out into the Gulf and across Kodiak Island, about 40 knots as you go across the northern part of the Bering Sea and down into Bristol Bay, and then another area of 40 knots out over the Aleutians. And then we've got that outflow wind through Kennedy Entrance, northerlies and northwesterlies up to 45 knots, 40 knots as you get down to the southern end of Chillicothe Strait. So pretty windy conditions there, and that's going to account for all of the turbulence forecasts that we have. So considerable moderate for the north-central part of the Alaska Range and all parts of the western Alaska Range, over Cook Inlet, over Prince William Sound, over Chillicothe Strait, and Kodiak Island, and that'll be about surface of 6,000 feet. A little bit of turbulence up there by Point Hope, one area of considerable moderate, and that'll be surface of 4,000 feet, and a little bit over the central Aleutians, and that'll be surface of 3,000 feet. So that's it for your aviation forecast. Please sure to file a flight plan, and please fly safe out there.